Anxiety can come with many weird and wonderful sensations. One of the strangest and at times most alarming of these is tremors. Have you ever felt your hands, legs, or even your voice start shaking when you're anxious? Maybe this has even continued after the anxiety itself has passed. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about why these tremors occur, how to calm them down, and why ultimately there's nothing to fear. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach and anxiety therapist. And for nearly 15 years now, I've been working with clients one-to-one to help them get back in control of their mental and emotional well-being. And when it comes to anxiety, one of the more unsettling responses people tell me about is physical tremors. Sometimes it's just a little shake in the hands. Sometimes it's a full-on body tremor. And perhaps the most disturbing thing about them is that they can have us believing there's something wrong with us. So let's break this down. What's actually going on when anxiety makes us shake? Why does the trembling often stick around even after the anxious moment has passed? And most importantly, how do we move beyond these responses and feel safe again? First off, here's something you might not know. Anxiety itself doesn't come with any noticeable physical sensations. Anxiety is just the emotion your mind uses to steer your focus towards whatever is judged to be important right now. However, when that thing we're paying attention to contains some element of threat, either to our safety or just our pursuit of happiness, then we might start to experience fear. And that does come with a physical response. So about 10 years ago, I used to do a lot of networking meetings to promote my practice. You might know the kind of thing. You turn up at about 6 a.m, meet a bunch of other people who are also there to promote their business, and at some point you get to stand up for about 60 seconds and tell the room about what you do and the type of clients you're looking for. It can be a fairly daunting prospect, and it certainly was for me at the start. But I did these sort of meetings several times a week for years. As a result, I got pretty comfortable with presenting to a room of virtual strangers about something they might not be that interested in. However, the one thing that I never stopped experiencing was my hands shaking as I was standing there. Every time I'd finish talking, I'd sit down, reach for my cup of tea, and feel the tremors in my arm as I reached out. Whilst at first I found this distracting and frustrating, after a while I started to understand why it continued to happen, no matter how comfortable I got in that particular environment. You see, fear causes our body to switch into fight or flight mode. This is your basic, old-fashioned, extremely outdated, oh no, here comes a bear survival instinct kicking in. Adrenaline floods our system, our heart rate increases, our breathing gets quicker, and our muscles tense in readiness for action. Sometimes it's quite a low-level response, other times it's at a super high level, often depending on the perceived degree of threat being posed. And as was the case with my morning networking meetings, we often assume that because there's no real physical threat going on, this must then mean our mind is malfunctioning in some way. It's what can have us believing there's something actually wrong with us. Well, in these instances, rest assured there isn't anything wrong with you. Evolution takes a long time and our brains haven't progressed much beyond how they were when we were living in caves and communicating by bashing each other on the head. Adrenaline kicking in is just that evolutionary hangover that comes from advancement in society and technology outpacing our biology. We regard something we're doing to be important to our happiness, such as presenting ourselves to people that might potentially be able to help us, and our body responds naturally to whatever threat we perceive from the possibility of something going wrong. The adrenaline is an inevitable part of that process. But this aforementioned adrenaline also makes our nerve signals fire faster. Our muscles are on high alert, ready to move at a moment's notice, and that can cause those rapid, tiny muscle contractions we experience as trembling or shaking. Basically, our body getting ready to do something big, even if that's just sitting in a meeting right now. Hopefully none of us are actually being physically attacked in a meeting. If you find yourself in that situation, then definitely have a word with HR, because that shouldn't happen. Based on all that information, you might think the shaking should stop the second you calm down from that fight or flight state. But here's the thing, adrenaline doesn't vanish from your system instantly. It takes time for your body to process and clear it. Sometimes that's minutes, sometimes even longer. While that's happening, your muscles can remain tense and in that high alert state. They actually need a bit of time to fully relax. It's a bit like driving a Formula One car at top speed and then just expecting it to suddenly stop the moment you hit the brakes. It's reasonable to expect a period of slowing down before you finally come to a halt and are at rest again. Having said this, perhaps the main cause of tremors persisting long after we're away from the anxious situation that initially triggered them is in fact our fear of the tremors themselves. If you've had tremors before and they've worried you, then a part of your mind is now flagging up these sensations as threatening. In other words, the thing our mind is trying to get us to pay attention to is whether or not the tremors have stopped yet. Are they still happening? So we might start watching for them thinking, am I still shaking? And this might not feel like something we do consciously, but that's simply because it's our subconscious that decides what we focus on. And right now, our belief is that the tremors represent a malfunction and therefore a threat. That attention and anticipatory fear can actually continue the production of adrenaline as it keeps us in that fight or flight state. This potentially just keeps the tremors going longer. It's like searching your house for a potential intruder. You want to make sure the house is clear so you can relax. And you might be pretty sure the house is empty, but inevitably, with every door you open and every room you peer inside, you're just increasing the anxiety and fear associated with the possibility of discovering an intruder. So let's shift focus here and start to talk about how we calm all of the tension and get rid of those tremors. And by the way, if what I'm talking about is resonating with you, then why not check out the members area of this channel? There you'll find hours of exclusive content, including my full Clear Your Head anxiety relief program and weekly members only live streams, where you get the chance to put your anxiety related questions to me directly. Just click the join button on my channel homepage or follow the link in the description. So there's a whole list of things we could do to potentially get these tremors to pass and to once again return to a calm and relaxed state. Some examples of these would be to employ some nice slow breathing techniques to calm the nervous system. Or we could engage in gentle movement such as a short walk or some stretching so that we're actively doing something with all that adrenaline rather than bottling it up. You could also shake out your arms and legs. Your body's taken action to move, so engaging in any of these things kind of answers that call. But in these situations, I'm a big fan of asking a very simple qualifier question. What do you need to do? And ultimately, you don't need to do anything. Tremors might have felt like they indicated a problem, but they don't. What they represent is your body answering the call to action. There's no malfunction here. Once we can accept that idea, we can accept the feeling of the tremors. And what that does is stops us questioning or fearing that particular sensation occurring, which then stops us perpetuating that fight or flight state. It allows the natural dissipation of the adrenaline that's been causing the tremors. It's another one of those annoying, you accept it to get rid of it moments. Once I stopped worrying about my shaky hands at my networking meetings, I barely noticed them again. Does that mean I stopped producing adrenaline when I stood up to speak? Of course not. I regarded that moment as important and my body responded. But it did allow me to stop paying attention to that feeling. And because of that, it no longer distracted me from the task at hand. So next time you notice yourself trembling during or after anxiety, remind yourself it's just your body doing its job. It's not dangerous, it's not permanent, and it's actually a sign that your system is returning to balance. If you found this video helpful, I'm going to recommend that you watch another one. Maybe the one that YouTube is about to suggest for you in 5 seconds or so. And if you want one-to-one assistance from someone who's been doing this for 15 years and knows what they're talking about, then click on the other video, which tells you all about the work I do. Thanks for watching. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.